And the game fucking needed something dirty raw. Tell them it's the law and we read it.
So if it's God you believe in, bob your head and just nod in agreement. Yeah, they say time's undefeated. I'ma be the first one who can beat it. I had hoop dreams, now I shoot threes. Got a little green, but I don't do weed. No perp nor lean, that's Tunchi. That's New Orleans, fuck Drew Brees. Snoop deal double, that's 2 G's. Probably spin on paper, Louis. Since Tuesday, probably killed a few trees. But the only ones I smoke are the loose leaf. Not high, but I'm your highness. And secretly, you're my dick. But you haters, a butt hurt, bunch of sore hind ends. I was just a poor white kid. Now if rap was speedball, I'd be Jordan like bitch. You wish you could score like this. Yeah, not even at half court I'd miss. I'm mouthwash, cause if I was on the floor I'd swish. Chloride, swish, but I cannot lie. I got you in my top 5 worst rappers of all time. I lost my spot, y'all got all time. King of rap, nah, their words, not mine. King of swear words and not lying. You should never compare yours, a toll-free number. Only way you'll ever have a hotline. Fuck's going on, man? Bunch of half-wits up in office. Half of us walking around like a zombie apocalypse. Other half are just pissed off and don't wanna wear a mask and they're just scoffing. And that's how you end up catching the shit off them. I just use the same basket as you shopping. Now I'm in a fucking casket from you coughing. Always stay ahead of haters, let them hate, but never let a traitor penetrate your circle. Separate yourself from those who try to pull you down. The real one's never straight, it's sorta like Medusa. That's how you stay ahead of snakes. MCs pull out gats, I don't give a fuck how strapped. You're gonna out-rap me, I doubt that. Please, bitch, I'm a house rat. These raps about that cheese like mousetraps. Earthlings, I adapt to them. Certain things I don't wanna do but have to in order just to act human. Like using a bathroom and vacuuming. Yeah, rapping in the booth in a triple fat goose hazmat suit. Bubble wrap and a mask too. And I don't think that's what they meant by trap music. Running through ink like I'm tattooing. This is music to be murdered by your love. Turn the volume up, I am fired up like a blunt. Bread is long like a nut, tie-ins up. I am drugs, that is probably why your opinion of me's high as fuck. And it's non-stop fury, cause I ain't holding them up like an armed robbery. God's my jury, so when I die I'm not worried. Prayers to George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. How the fuck is it that so many cops are dirty? Stop, man, please, officer, I'm sorry, but I can't breathe when I got you on top of me. Your goddamn knees on my carotid artery.
The Adventures of Moon Man and Slim. Yes, who wanted with them? The trilogy continues.
Armed robbery, God's my jury, so when I die I'm not worried. Prayers to George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. How the fuck is it that so many cops are dirty? Stop, man, please, officer, I'm sorry, but I can't breathe when I got you on top of me. Your goddamn knees on my carotid artery.
The Adventures of Moon Man and Slim. Yes, who wanted with them? The trilogy continues.
Revelation. We shall now try to find out what was the attitude of the first Christian generations to power. We begin with Revelation. This is one of the most violent texts, and it follows the sayings of Jesus, but with even greater severity. It obviously has Rome in view, but not simply the presence of the Romans in Judea. At the issue is the central imperial power of Rome itself. Throughout the book, there is radical opposition between the majesty of God and the powers and dominions of earth. This shows how mistaken are those who find continuity. God damn it. This shows how mistaken are those who find continuity between the divine power and earthly powers, or who argue, as under a monarchy, that a single earthly power ought to correspond to the one almighty God who reigns in heaven. Revelation teaches the exact opposite. The whole book is a challenge to political power. I will simply mention two great symbols. The first is that of the two beasts. It takes up a theme of the later prophets, who depicted the political powers of their time as beasts. The first beast comes from the sea. This probably represents Rome, whose armies came by sea. It has a throne that is given to it by the dragon. The dragon, anti-God, has given all authority to the beast. People worship it. They ask who can fight against it. It is given all authority and power over every tribe, every people, every tongue, and every nation. All who dwell on earth worship it. Political power could hardly, I think, be more expressly described, for it is this power which has authority, which controls military force, and which compels adoration. The beast is created by the dragon. We thus find the same relation as that already noted between political power and the Diablos. Confirmation of this idea that the beast is the state may be found in the fact that at the end of Revelation, Great Babylon is destroyed. The beast unites all the kings of earth to make war on God, and is finally crushed and condemned after his main representative has first been destroyed. The second beast rises out of the earth. Specialists have rallied against my interpretation of this beast, but I stand by it. It is described as follows. It makes all the inhabitants of the earth worship the first beast. It seduces the inhabitants of earth. It tells them to make an image of the first beast. It animates the image of the beast and speaks in its name. It causes all, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, so that no one can buy or sell without having the mark of the beast. For my part, I find here an exact description of propaganda in association with the police. The beast makes speeches which induce people to obey the state, to worship it. It gives them the mark that enables them to live in society. Finally, those that will not obey the first beast are put to death. The point is clear enough, I think. One of the main instruments of Roman propaganda was the establishment of the cult of Rome and the emperor with altars, temples, etc. The Jewish kings of the period accepted this. This is why the texts speak of the beasts that rise up out of the earth. The local authorities in the provinces of the Near East were the most enthusiastic promoters of the cult of Rome. This was a kind of power that works on the intelligence and on credibility to obtain voluntary obedience to the beast. But let us not forget that for the Jews who wrote this text, the state and its propaganda are two powers that derive from evil. My second and last symbol is the fall of Great Babylon in chapter 18. There is general agreement that Babylon represents Rome, but it is also clear in the text that Rome is equated with supreme political power. All nations have drunk the wine of the fury of their vices. The first interesting feature is that the fury or violence in evil. All the kings of the earth are delivered up to adultery. Political power is the climax, for earthly kings all lie with it. Merchants are enriched by the power of Babylon's luxury. The state is a means by which to concentrate wealth, and it enriches its clients. We see the same thing today in the form of public works and arms production. Political power makes alliance with the power of money. When Babylon collapses, all the kings of the earth lament and despair, and the capitalists weep. A long list is then given of the goods bought and sold at Rome. But the interesting point is at the end of the list we find that Great Babylon bought and sold human bodies and souls. If the reference were only to bodies, we might think of slaves. But there is also a more general reference to souls. The slave trade is not the issue here. The point is that political authorities have all power over people. What is promised is the pure and simple destruction of political government. Rome, to be sure, yet not Rome alone, but power and domination in every form. These things are specifically stated to be enemies of God. God judges political power, calling it the great harlot. We can expect from it neither justice, nor truth, nor any good, only destruction. At this point, as may be seen, we are far from the rebellion of Jesus against Roman colonization. As Christians became more numerous and Christian thought developed, the Christian view of political power hardened. Only reductionist thinking can see this passage as directed solely against Rome. The hardening might be due to the beginning of persecution, of which the text gives evidence. For the great harlot was drunk with the blood of saints and with the blood of witnesses to Jesus. In the great city was found the blood of prophets and of saints, all of whom had been slain on earth. The reference, of course, is to the slaying not merely of the first Christians, but all the righteous. A remarkable point is according to those who were thus put to death for their Christian allegiance were beheaded. They were not killed in the arena or fed to lions. Power slays not merely Christians, but all righteous people. This experience undoubtedly strengthened the conviction that political power would be condemned. I believe that among the first Christians there was no other global position. At this period, Christianity was hostile to the state. Peter. Before taking a look at Paul, we must glance at a strange passage in later epistle, namely Peter, which tells us to be subject to the kings as supreme, and to honor the king. Oddly, I forgot to shut off my phone oven. Damn it. Oh, shit. Rip microphones. Honor the king. Oddly, this passage has never given commentators any difficulty. As they see it, the matter is simple enough. The king was the Roman emperor. That is all. On this basis, then, sermons are preached on the obedience and submission of Christians to political authorities. Interestingly, in parallel Bibles, there is usually a cross-reference to the saying Jesus that we must render to Caesar what is Caesar's. In fact, however, this whole line of exposition displays great ignorance regarding the political institutions of the period. First, the head of the Roman state was then the princeps. This was the term for the emperor at the time when the Christian texts were written. The period is known historically as the Principiate. The princeps was never called the king. The title was formally forbidden in Rome. We have to realize that Caesar was assassinated on the rumored charge that he was planning to restore the monarchy. That was a good enough reason. Augustus was careful enough never to hint at anything of this kind. He acted very cleverly, simply assuming successively the republican titles of consul, people's tribune, and commander-in-chief. He then took also the title of Supreme Pontiff, exercising religious functions. All these were traditional titles of Rome's democracy. Augustus also took steps to abolish abnormal institutions that had arisen during the Civil War, for example, the triumvirate and the permanent consulate, and he opposed the creation of a dictatorship. Having taken all power to himself, he was content with the title princeps, or first citizen. The people alone was sovereign, and it was delegated its potestas to the princeps. This delegation was by a regular procedure. To avoid military coup, Augustus had the plenitude of power assigned to the Senate by a democratic vote. He then received some imprecise titles without legal content, for example, father of the country, guardian of the citizens. He was also princeps senatus, first senator. He restored the regular functioning of republican institution. His successors were less scrupulous than he was. Little by little they established the empire, but never in an absolute and totalitarian sense. And they never took the title king. They expressly avoided any reference to this title or any assigning of it to themselves. Hence, the author of Peter can hardly have the emperor in view in this passage. I thus want to make a hazardous suggestion. What follows is pure hypothesis. There were political parties at Rome. During the 1st century, a strange party evolved on the basis of a global philosophy. This philosophy was as follows. The world's empires have a cyclical life. A political power is born, grows, reaches its height, and then, unable to grow further, inevitably declines, entering a period of decomposition. This applied to all known empires, hence it applied to Rome as well. Many writers of the 1st century thought Rome had already reached the summit of its power. Its rule stretched from Spain to Persia, from Scotland to the Sahara, and the south of Egypt. It could not expand any more. In consequence, its decline was beginning. After the period of glorification and enthusiasm, such as we see in Virgil and Livy, there thus came a period of dark pessimism among less well-known writers and philosophers. It should be added that whenever one empire collapsed, like Egypt, Babylon, or Persia, a new one arose to take its place. In all probability, this would also happen in the case of Rome. But the Parthians were the only unconquered enemy of Rome, and they were constantly invading new territories. One group, first of intellectuals, then of members of governing class, very seriously envisioned the Roman Empire being replaced by a Parthian empire. Some of them, entering into the flow of history, began to spread these ideas and founded, it is said, a party that would finally support the Parthians. Now the Parthians, for their part, were governed by a king. Some think that prayers were being said for the king, that is, the Parthian king, and that they were forbidden. If we grant this, and some historians of course dispute it, the text in Peter is seen in a new light. There can be no question of honoring the emperor under the name of king, or of praying for the king of Rome. But Peter twice refers to the king. Why then should he not have had the Parthian king in view? If so, this passage is totally a subversive one. But the reference in this case is solely to the political power of Rome and not the state as such. For the author is supporting another power. Nevertheless, the passage is in accord with the general Christian attitude, which is far from being one of passivity or obedience, and which we might classify in three ways. 1. It may be first an attitude of scorn, a refusal to recognize the validity of political power, though not of total rejection. 2. It may be an attitude of total repudiation. It may be an attitude of total repudiation of political power. It may be an attitude of condemnation of Roman power. After the capture of Jerusalem by the Roman armies, the destruction of the temple, the suppression of the autonomy of Jewish government, the massacre of thousands of Jews during the war, and finally the suppression of the Christian church at Jerusalem in AD 70, the Christian hatred of political power clearly came to focus on Rome. Paul. We finally arrive at the passages in Paul. We had first to fix the general Christian climate in order to put the verses in context. What's an appendix? I guess we're almost over. These folks almost. We finally arrived at the passage. We had to first fix the general Christian climate in order to put the verses in context, although they are too well known. I will quote them. First, we have Romans 13, 1-7. Let every person be subject to higher authorities, for there is no authority which does not come from God, and the authorities that exist, which have been instituted by God. Therefore, one who resists authority resists the order that God has established, and those who resist will bring condemnation on themselves. It is not for good conduct, but for bad, that magistrates are to be feared. The magistrate is the servant of God for your good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for it is not in vain that he bears the sword, being the servant of God, to exercise vengeance and punish those who do evil. It is necessarily, therefore, to be subject not only for fear of punishment, but also for the sake of conscience. It is also for this reason that you pay taxes, for the magistrates are servants of God, attending entirely to this function. Pay to all of them what is their due, taxes to whom you owe taxes, tribute to whom you owe tribute, fear to whom you owe fear, honor to whom you owe honor. We have then Titus 3:1. Remind them to be subject to the magistrates and authorities, to obey and be ready for any good work. These are the only texts in the whole Bible which stress obedience and the duty of obeying authorities. It is true that the two passages show that they were among Christians of the time a counterflow to the main current that we have demonstrated. In 2 Peter 2:10, there is condemnation of those who despise authority. And Jude 8 also condemns those who, carried along by their dreamings, despise authority and revile the glorious ones. We must emphasize, however, that these are very ambiguous texts. What is the authority that they have in view? We must never forget the constant reminder that all authority belongs to God. Finally, we might adduce in 1 Timothy 2:1-2, Therefore I exhort that above all things make prayers supplications, petitions, and thanksgivings for all humans, for kings, and for all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceable and quiet life in all reverence and honesty. In these Pauline texts, we seem to have a trend that differs from one we have just seen. Our next task is to compose a completely incomprehensible, or alas, too comprehensible problem. From the 3rd century AD, most of the theologians, simply forgetting all that we have shown, have focused solely on the statements of Paul in Romans 13 and preached total submission to authority. They have done this without taking into account, as we have done, the context of the statements. They have even fixed on one statement in particular: all power comes from God. This has been leading the theme in 16 centuries of cooperation between church and state. Some bold theologians added per populum by way of the people, but this was a mere detail as compared to the imperious duty of obeying the power that is from God, as though it were itself God. The curious thing is to see how these theologians fared when, often to their embarrassment, they had to do with tyrants. A strange casuistry was adopted to explain that power comes from God only when it is gained in a legal, legitimate, and peaceful way, and exercised in a moral and regular way. But this did not call into question the general duty. Even at the time of the Reformation, Luther used this text in the Peasants' War to charge the princes to crush the revolt. As for Calvin, he insisted that kings are legitimate except when they attack the church. So long as authorities let Christians freely practice their religion, they cannot be faulted. As I see it, we have here an incredible betrayal of the original Christian view, and the source of this betrayal is undoubtedly the tendency toward conformity and the ease of obeying. However that may be, the only rule that has been gathered from the vast array of texts is that there is no authority except from God. We shall now try to examine Pauline passages more clearly. As in the case of all biblical texts and other texts, we must first refuse to detach one phrase from the total line of thinking. We must put that phrase in the general context. Let us take Paul's argument as a whole. In Romans 9 through 11, Paul has just made a detailed study of the relations between the Jewish people and Christians. A new development that begins, which will cover chapters 12 through 14, and at the heart of which is passage which we are now considering. The lengthy discussion begins with the words, "Do not be conformed to the present age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." Paul's general and essential command, then, is that we should not be conformists, that we should not obey the trends and customs and currents through society which we live, that we should not submit to the form of them, but that we should be transformed, that we should receive a new form by the renewing of the mind, that is, by starting from a new point, namely, the will of God and love. This is obviously a strange beginning if he is later to demand obedience to political authorities. Paul then goes on to teach at length about love among Christians in the church, love for all people, and love for enemies, not avenging oneself, but blessing those who persecute. And with a further exhortation to live peaceably with all. The passage on the authorities follows next. Then all commandments are summed up in the commandment of love and of doing no wrong to others. Some details are offered as to the practice of love: hospitality, not judging others, supporting the weak. This then is the general framework or movement within which the passage on authority occurs. It seems so odd, so out of joint in this larger context that some exegetes have thought that it must be an interpolation, that Paul himself did not write it. For my part, however, I believe that it has place here and that it does come from the apostle. We have seen that there is a progression of love from friends to strangers and then to enemies. And this is where the passage then comes. In other words, we must love our enemies, and therefore we must even respect the authorities, not loving them, but accepting their orders. We have to remember that the authorities have attained to power through God. Yes, we recall that Saul, a mad, bad king, attained to power through God. This certainly does not mean that he was good, just, or lovable. Along the same lines, one of the best commentators on the passage, Alphonse Mallet, relates it directly to the end of chapter 12. Do not let yourself be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Let every person, therefore, be subject to the higher authorities. In other words, Paul belongs to that Christian church which at first is unanimously hostile to the state, to the imperial power, to the authorities, and in this text he is thus moderating that hostility. He was reminding Christians that the authorities are also people. There was no abstract concept of the state, people such as themselves, and that they must accept and respect them too. At the same time, Paul shows great restraint in this council when he tells them to pay their dues, taxes to whom taxes are due, revenue to whom revenue, respect to whom respect, honor to whom honor. We are rightly reminded of the answer of Jesus regarding the text. Far more boldly, Jesus claims that we owe neither respect nor honor to magistrates or the authorities. The only whom we must fear is God. The only whom we must honor is due is God. In an appendix, I will adduce two of the better commentators on this passage. 3 points still call for discussion. The first presents no difficulty. We have met it already. It relates to the paying of taxes. Christians must not refuse to pay them. That is all. The second is more striking. We must pray for the authorities. We have quoted the passage which Paul asked that prayer be made for kings. The plural shows that we cannot expound this as we did in the case of Peter, namely, for those in authority for the government. This verse confirms what I said above. Paul is saying, in effect, that we are to pray for all people, included our kings and those in high office. We are to pray even for kings and magistrates. We detest them, but we are still to pray for them. No one must be excluded from our intercession, from our appeal to God's love for them. It might seem completely crazy, but I knew some German Christians who were in the resistance movement against Hitler, even to the point of plotting his overthrow, and who still engaged in prayer for him. It is not out of place to recall that the only ones to organize resistance to Hitler after 1936 were German Protestants of the Confessing Church. We cannot want the absolute death of political foes. Certainly our prayer will not be a kind of Te Deum. It will not be a prayer that they remain in power, that they win victories, that they endure. It will be a prayer for their conversion, that they can change the way they behave and act, that they renounce violence and tyranny, that they become truthful. Yet we still pray for them and not against them. In Christian faith, we will also pray for their salvation, which is obviously not the same thing as the safety of their kingdom. This prayer must still be made, even if from a human standpoint there is no hope of change. We must not forget these passages on respect and prayer were probably written at the very moment of the first persecution under Nero, or shortly after it. We thus have to say to Christians, as Paul does in Romans 13, that even though you are revolted by persecutions, even though you are ready to rebel, instead, pray for the authorities. Your only true weapon is to turn to God, for it is He alone who dispenses supreme justice. We now come to the final point. I cannot close these reflections on this passage, which unfortunately gave a wrong turn to the church and Christianity after the 3rd century, without recalling a study of some 30 years ago. The word used in this train of thought is a Greek exousia, which can mean the public authorities, but which also in New Testament another meaning being used for abstract, spiritual, religious powers. Thus Paul tells us that we are to fight against the exousia enthroned in heaven. It is thought, for example, that the angels are exousia. Oscar Kuhlmann and Gunther Den thus concluded that since the same word is used there, it has to be the same relation. In other words, the New Testament leads us to suppose that earthly political and military authorities really have their basis in an alliance with spiritual powers, which I will not call celestial, since they might equally be evil and demonic. The existence of these spiritual exousia will explain the universality of political powers, and also the astonishing fact that the people obeyed them as though it was self-evident. These spiritual authorities would then inspire rulers. Now, these authorities might be either good or bad, angelic or demonic. Earthly authorities reflect the powers into those hands they have fallen. We can thus see why Paul in Romans 13 refers to the authorities that actually exist as being instituted by God, and also why some Protestant theologians could say after 1933 that Hitler was a demonized state which had fallen into the hands of a demonic power. If I say this, it is not simply because I want to say that the attitude of the first Christian generation was not absolutely unanimous, that alongside the main line according to which the state should be destroyed, there was a more nuanced line, though no one demanded unconditional obedience. The important point for me is that when Paul in Colossians 2:13-15 says that Jesus has conquered evil and death, he also says that Christ has stripped of their power all the dominions and authorities and made a public spectacle of them, and triumphing over them by the cross. In Christian thinking, the crucifixion of Christ is his true victory over all powers, both celestial and infernal. I am not saying whether they exist, but expressing the conviction of the day. For he alone has been perfectly obedient to the will of God, even accepting the scandal of his own condemnation and execution, without fully understanding it. My God, why have you abandoned me? Though he doubts about his interpretation and mission, he has no doubts about the will of God and obeys perfectly. I know how scandalous for non-Christians is a God who demands this death, but the real question is this: how far can love go? Who will love God so absolutely as to lose himself? This was the test stopped in time for Abraham. It was also the test that provoked the anger of Job. But Jesus alone obeyed to the very end, which he was fully free not to obey. For that reason, having loved beyond human limits, he robbed the powers of their power. Demons no longer hold sway. There are not independent exousia. All are from the very outset subject to Christ. They may revolt, of course, but they are overcome in advance. Politically, this means that the exousia which exist alongside or outside political power is also vanquished. The result is that political power is not a final court. It is always relative. We can expect from it only what is relative and open to question. This is the meaning of Paul's statement, and it shows how much we need to revitalize the traditionally absolutized formula that there is no authority except from God. Power is indeed from God, but all power is overcome in Christ.
Keefer Green ナンバーワンロッキンローラーマザーフッカー
But I'll tell you something. I'm going to bring everybody up to speed about me. In 1975, an airplane was 4,000 feet in the air. It went whoom. It crashed into the ground. It killed the pilot. It paralyzed 2 other wrestlers. And they said Ric Flair would never wrestle again. 6 months later, I was standing in the ring wearing gold.
To get the feta.
You wanna be a sweet MC, you gotta become me. If you ever wanna be one, say. So what you know about a sweet MC? In the 313, you don't know shit, so when you see one fleet, you can be Run D, you never be the MC. I stopped the alphabet at S, I got it down to a T. I'm sure you're bound to agree, a sweet MC crashed the spot. I make the roof hot like I was Rock Master Scott. Your ass forgot, so just in case you don't remember me, I run your brain around the block to jog your fucking memory. It's either them or me, man, kill or be killed. You will or be sealed, your casket closed, you still be billed. My facility's filled with fans packed to capacity. I'll send a rapper back with the crack of his ass shitty. If he's acting soft and he cowards, he better come cleaner than J. Rue jacking off when he showers. You flowers got no clout with a thing. You could date a stick of dynamite and wouldn't go out with a bang. I shout with a slang simple as ABCs. Skip over the D's and rock the microphone with ease. Dethrone MCs, and I'm a max alone. With accident, like a solo from a saxophone. So facts are known. Fighters get treated with shocks. I rock a beat harder than you can beat it with rocks. I'm breeding with flocks of fellow followers, singers. You couldn't make the fans throw up their hands if they swallow their fingers. But you can bring yours. Let's see what you got. But don't front and never try to be what you're not. Cause you can be quick, jump the candlestick, burn your back, and fuck Jill on a hill, but you still ain't Jack. So what you know about a sweet MC from the 313? None of these skills that you just ain't come free. So you want
like Bruce. Trust me. Okay,
Definitely talk about it
you
later.
you are
But I'm just saying-
Whole stream about how he didn't get breastfed.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But like, all I'm saying is,
See, look, Sassy Heathen remembers this. Go watch that. I'll fucking link it.
It's like, hey, you should go read this book of
But
this
that's
guy.
that's fraudulent.
He talks
That's
about all
fraudulent,
these things
Smokey.
about Jesus. He's a tranny.
That's
Well, yeah, I'm probably
fraudulent.
not gonna go
Because
actually read it.
you're
you
saying
retard.
You're criticizing someone you don't know anything about. That's fraudulent. So you're dishonest, and you're also a liar.
All right, whatever.
Let's see.
I'm just saying. I'm just being honest, man. You know,
I'm
trying.
promoting
I hope you will repent.
Mars, you don't have an honest.
I hope you will repent
You're a
and
piece
stop
of
lying,
absolute trash.
and stop being such an arrogant bastard.
I was in the garage cutting some wood for making some craft projects that I was doing, and the stinking log of wood fell right on my big toe, not the little toe, the big toe, and that whole nail came off and has had to regrow. It's been quite a disaster. Well, now you can't even tell it.
I know you're a fraud because if you did any research, you'd have found out Jacques Ellul was a Marxist, and you would have been talking about how he's a Marxist and shit.
I don't care. I don't care.
How do you criticize someone you're totally ignorant of?
P-Mars, all I need is the things that you come in and present and talk about the teachings. In fact, the things you tell me about what he writes about inspire me to not want to waste my time to go look at the idiotic nonsense that he's promoting.
Sassy Heathen remembers this. Go watch that. I'll fucking link it.
It's like, hey, you should go read this book of this guy.
That's fraudulent.
He talks about all these things about Jesus as a tranny. Well, yeah, I'm probably not going to go
because
actually read it.
You're saying you're criticizing someone you don't know anything about. That's fraudulent. So you're dishonest, and you're also a liar.
All right, whatever.
Let's see.
I'm just saying. I'm just being honest, man. You know, I hope you will repent.
Mars, you don't have an honest.
I hope you will repent and stop lying, and stop being such an arrogant bastard. I'm sorry your mom was a prostitute or whatever, but
okay, I gotta get to.
There's no excuse for your behavior at this point.
Mars, you have the type of brain that seems like it is as functional as one would be if it was constantly hitting its head on a stripper pole during your mother's pregnancy. You are the one that demonstrates that you were probably born in a truck stop toilet. So I don't know who the hell you are coming off on me about that.
You talked about how your mom didn't love you, and then that's why you're big, sad, and angry to people on YouTube. Remember when
I've literally never ever said that.
You said like you were raised by
really
your
coming
nanny.
on him for his mom not loving him? Really?
He needs to forgive his mother.
That's low-hanging fruit. You're a low-tier troll.
No, I'm just saying. Hold up. I don't think.
How dare you attack someone because they're family problem? How dare you, bitch?
No. Smokey does equally fucked up things and accuses people of other shit. Did you hear what he said about Bruce earlier? I'm just saying.
Bruce,
it's fair game.
Bruce gets what he deserves,
Kat?
okay?
Hey, Kat, I'll tell you what.
Smokey doesn't.
If you knew half of the crap about Bruce that I even told Will, I don't think you'd say one word to like Bruce. Trust me. Okay, you are overreaching.
I know that's what I'm saying. But like, all I'm saying is like, you can say fucked up things, but like, you gotta expect other people are gonna say them back. You don't get to be like, well, you can't say fucked up things.
Sorry, but like having someone make fun of someone because allegedly their mother doesn't love them, I feel that on a whole fucking other level. Because my mom's loved me. So why the fuck are you coming at him for that shit? Why don't you come at me instead, bitch? I'll be the babe.
He's taking out his aggression that should be directed at his mother on other people on YouTube.
Whatever. You're just jealous of his greatness. Admit it.
Greatness? Greatness in what? Being alone?
Oh, stop it.
He's a very worldly Christian.
To be fair, I can't even say anything about it. But anyway, okay, answering your question is I have no idea what you're talking about for legal reasons, and you definitely shouldn't email me. Also, funny thing about this, if you just, we took a look at this last week, but I went from having 2 strikes and a warning to just having a warning, and even that's being contested. That's because we have a legal department that talks to YouTube now, and there's another thing that I definitely couldn't tell you about through email. So
I don't think that's Sam.
Oh
think
God,
that's
we got all
Sam.
kinds of people in here tonight.
That's like unclean Sam? Unclean Sam? Why would that be? That's
Give me
not
a
his
link.
typical
Let me just
name.
check the description here, and oh yeah, it's sitting right there in the description. You fucking dummy. If you can't actually, you know what, Thick Shades? If you're too retarded to figure it out, you're not getting one. That's how that's working tonight.
There's multiple places it is.
Oh yeah, Veckel and fucking Thick Shades.
They
got
had a
into it, I
thing.
guess.
Yeah, they had a thing.
Don't
That's
talk to
true.
me,
Yeah.
fuckhole.
You know,
Well,
Veckel is
Sam
another.
did a very stupid thing. Sam did a very stupid thing, and then all of Sam's friends.
Don't,
completely
guys,
roasted
don't
him
bother
for it.
telling him where it is. He's not going to find
Oh
it.
my goodness.
Just let him fucking squirm. I can neither confirm nor deny that I have a connection.
What if Thick Shades can't actually read?
That would explain quite a bit, actually.
Wait,
What's this
you people
Blaze
can
Preston? How
read?
much brain damage do they have?
Well, like
actually
he could speak to type, and then like he could just be listening to the show and not know what anyone's saying in side chat. Maybe he can't read.
That would be great if he couldn't read.
That's canon.
Yeah,
'Cause
you'd be better off not knowing how to read because, like, you know, like,
You would be
look what
better
it's
off
done
not
to
knowing how to
Smokey.
read P-Mars.
Exactly.
He's just parroting
You'd
a
be better
bunch of
off as a
fucking
mute. Better off
right-wing
as a mute.
propaganda.
You offer nothing of value to the world, conversation.
Hey, listen,
or
we don't
any
need, listen.
spiritual
As a
group you're
Jew,
part of.
I would like to publicly denounce this fake fucking. You know, I don't care if he was a Jew at one point. He's a Juden rat now.
It's George Soros.
He would sell out his mother for a fucking shekel. All right, and
That's
she's
probably
dead.
true.
Contributions.
And that's why P Mars is piss baby of the week.
You were going up, and then you just took a quick spiral down and just wanted to turn into a trash troll again. So that's fine. That's just how you'll be treated, like a trash troll, and you'll be put in the bottom of the bin. Where you
Bro,
belong.
you're like fucking Jerry Springer. Who the fuck cares?
Well, see, there you go, P Mars. There you go. See, the environment then is not even for someone like you, P Mars, because you don't get anything out of it. Because you're not smart enough.
Yeah, it's a gossip
You're
drama channel. I don't
worthless.
give a fuck.
Well, then okay. Well, then why
You
you
know what
keep
I
coming
did?
around
I
and
read.
bugging
I
me?
read. A
Why you
book
keep coming around and
today.
bugging me
Has
then?
P-Mars said anything wrong though?
I troll you because it's funny.
Why? Oh, it's just funny. Okay. All right, great. Well, P Mars, that's
Guys,
why you
look-
have no value. There you go. Congratulations.
Guys, look at
Made
my
my point.
fucking post-op titties.
I
don't
feel
know
like I
what's going on.
belong
I
on your
love
show.
them.
I belong on your no value show with my no value contributions.
And that's why P Mars is piss baby of the week.
It's piss baby of the week, nigga.
Anyway,
Go
Take it off,
fuck
okay,
yourself, Bruce.
Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Go to the.
sorry.
Don't
we gotta
pander
break
me,
them all
Bruce.
out.
Don't pander me. Okay, hold
Sorry.
on.
Sorry,
May
I'm
I?
very sassy.
May I?
Wear this-
Okay, so Sam's secondary channel is actually Uncle Sam. Now, if
My stomach was making the rumbling that
Carl.
only legs would satisfy.
What is wrong with you, Carl?
well, I lampoon people and I eat legs. That's two things. This is so. This is so.
This is so fucking autistic.
It is.
Okay.
It's like what is?
I mean,
Why is this a thing?
I don't know. Why is it a thing?
Why?
It's like
Why did we even just make this channel? That is my least favorite thing to do.
Tell me, Carl, exactly what were you doing before I came in?
All right. Well, I went upstairs. I was sitting in my room.
Yes.
Looking on Facebook, and
Okay.
Ronnie logged in, and I made a GoFundMe for a paternity test for his child.
Carl, that hurts people.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
How could you not know that?
I'm in the wrong here.
What happened to his legs?
What's that?
His legs. Why are they missing?
That hurts I kind of cooked them up and ate them.
Carl!
Why is this funny but me calling you a nigger isn't?
Why on earth would you do that?
I was hungry for legs. Give me a break.
My stomach was making the rumbling
Carl.
that only legs.
Oh!
It's a videotape.
Put it in!
Working on a weekend like usual. Way off in the deep end like usual. Niggas swear they passed us, they doing too much. Haven't done my taxes, I'm too turned up. Virgil got a paddock on my wrist going nuts. Niggas caught me slipping once, okay, so what? Someone hit the block up, I tell you if it was us. Man, a house in Rosewood, this shit too plush. Say my day's a number, but I keep waking up. Know you see my text, baby, please say something. Buying by the glass, man, a cheapskate, huh? Niggas gotta move on my release day, huh? Bitch, this is fame, not clout. I don't even know what that's about. Watch your mouth. Baby got an ego twice the size of the crib. I can never tell a shit, it is what it is. Said what I had to and did what I did. Never turn my back on FBG, God forbid. Virgil got the paddock on my wrist, doing front flips. Giving you my number, but don't hit me on no dumb shit. Working on a weekend like usual. Way off in the deep end like usual. Niggas swear they passed us, they doing too much. Haven't done my taxes, I'm too turned up. Virgil got a paddock on my wrist going nuts. Niggas caught me slipping once, okay, so what? Someone hit the block up, I tell you if it was us. Man, a house in Rosewood, this shit too plush.
My name
baby, I love
Gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Gassed up, I be so gassed up, turned up, I be so turned up right now. That bitch super thick, that's the way I like it. Yeah, I know all about your tricks, so don't you fucking try it. Leave me alone, let me get this bread. All I want is a crib and a super head. Yeah, I'm good, don't you worry about me. I get high all the time while I'm counting money. I be leaning, fuck, we be moving, we be dreaming, you be losing. Whoa, I know what she like, I know what she want, I know what she want. Gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Very pretty, yeah, she love the way I'm swag. Everywhere I go, they be like, yo, what happened? Looking like a check, I can't even flex. Give me my respect, I fuck your bitch and got that neck. You don't stop it, you gotta know it, cop it. All up in my carpet, she was one was poppin'. Yeah, they know it ain't too young, yeah, I got that OG, yeah, I got a soldier, yeah, smoke it till it's gone, hit it out the bone, we get lost and strong, wanna fuck me long, it ain't nothing to it, we can get for let me know, fast up, gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Gassed up, shawty, said I need my 40, pull up to the party, yeah. Gassed up,
Get out of my freaking pool!
Hey, you little piss baby, you think you're so fucking cool, huh? You think you're so fucking tough? You talk a lot of big game for someone with such a small truck. Oh, look at those arms. Your arms look so fucking cute, they look like little cigarettes. I bet I could smoke you, I could roast you, and then you'd love it. You text me I love you, and then I'd fucking ghost you. The big boys coming with the big stuff. I feel so cool, like I'm not even shit on you. Big boys coming with the big truck. Feel so cool, like I'm not even shit on you. Big boys coming with the big truck. Feel so cool, like I'm not even shit on you. Big boys coming with the big truck. Feel so cool, like I'm not even shit on you. Feel so clean like a money machine. 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 Tell me what to do, I've been trying to go to bed. I've been up for days, been trying to get it right. Said it all before, and said it once again. I'm better off alone. Tell me what to do, I've been trying to go to bed. I've been up for days, I've been trying to get it right. Said it all before, and said it once again. I'm better off alone. With the big boys coming with the big stuff. I feel so cool, like a money machine. Big boys coming with the big truck. Feel so cool, like a money machine. Big boys coming with the big truck. Feel so cool, like a money machine. Big boys coming with the big truck. Feel so cool, like a money machine. Feel so clean 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 like a money machine.
down and clear the stone of leaves. I wander out where you can't see. Inside my shell I wait and bleed. I felt the air rise up in me. Kneel down and clear the stone of leaves. I wander out where you can't see. Inside my shell I wait and bleed. Goodbye, a woman of my town, and I didn't put up this time. Everything is turning fast for me. My ears are running cold, the air is standing straight up. This is not the way I picture me. I can't control my shake. How the hell did I get here? Something about this so very wrong. I used to love out loud. I wish I didn't like this. Is it a dream or a memory? I felt the air rise up in me. Kneel down and clear the stone of me. I wander out where you can't see. Inside my shell I wait and bleed. Get out of my head, 'cause I don't need this. Why didn't I say this? But I'm a pixel man, where you're gonna die. I am sin by just making my mind up and taking your breath away. I felt the air rise up in me. Kneel down and clear the stone of me. I wander out where you can't see. Inside my shell I wait and bleed. I felt the air rise up in me. Kneel down and clear the stone of me. I wander out where you can't see. Inside my shell I wait and bleed. Goodbye. can see her lying back in her satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. She's been looking like a queen in a sailor's dream, and she don't always say what she really means. Sometimes I think it's a shame when I get feeling better when I'm feeling no pain. Sometimes I think it's a shame when I get feeling better when I'm feeling no pain. I can picture every move that a man could make. Getting lost in her loving is your first mistake. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. Sometimes I think it's a sin when I feel like I'm winning when I'm losing again. I can see her looking fast in her faded jeans. She's a hard-loving woman, got me feeling mean. Sometimes I think it's a shame when I get feeling better when I'm feeling no pain. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. Sometimes I think it's a sin when I feel like I'm winning when I'm losing again. Nobody touches us at all. Shout out, shoot out, spread beer up there without us. Living that attack, what's off the wheel? Spread the word throughout the land. They say, bad guys, we're black. We're tagging cancer, man. You see us coming and you all together run for cover. We'll take it over this town. Here it comes, reach for your gun and you better listen well. Not bring the scene, it's best now, down below. Aim at you and the devil's about. This time again we won. They talking no talk, tell friend just I knew your doom would come me out when the devil's about. Sleep. scene, but better not take it out on me, cause your sound is found where your city used to be. So out of the darkness and into the light, sparks fly everywhere inside from our double-barrel 12 gauge. Can't lock me in your cage. You see us coming and you all together run for cover. We're taking over this town. Here it comes, reach for your gun and you better listen well, my friend. You see it's pressed down below, aim at you with the covers of hell. See this town again, we war, ain't talking no tall tales, friend, cause I knew you're two coming me out with the cowboys from hell.
The Chronic.
Everywhere I go, all I ever seem to hear it. No matter where I go, all I ever seem to see it. Everywhere I go, all I ever seem to hear it. No matter where I go, all I ever seem to see it.
It's the same thing.
Good morning. Welcome to Flat Earth Early Bird number 173. I'm your host Arwin, and yeah, this is a second startup stream because yeah, I had an open panel and went really nice for an hour and I did a lot of talking, but then somebody decided to porn bomb me. Can't live stream anymore, okay? And when you can't live stream, there's all kinds of issues, and that can cause you to demonetize completely. And that would mean that, yeah, that's literally an attack on my business. Technically, if I could, with definitive results, identify the one who did it, I could sue them for damages. Yeah, it could be considered criminal.
Hey.
But then somebody decided to porn bomb me.
Which has resulted in me getting porn bombed again.
I am very seriously pissed off.
Yeah, so I'm pissed off.
And I know it was him. It was his voice.
I'm pretty sure I know who did this. And you know I fucking know who you are.
Super disgusting.
But what you just did was such a scummy and horrible move.
That would be a financially viable thing to do because I get very little from it.
Yes, this is making me money. Not a massive amount.
Yeah, that's literally an attack on my business.
And I've set myself up as a business. Is literally stopping me earning money.
Yeah, that's literally my business.
It's a business.
But I don't think I deserve this. It's absolutely bizarre. I was obviously not prepared. I panicked when it happened. I got adrenaline and I completely lost track. Oh well, there go my 125 downvotes.